The return of a Primarch to the setting we all know and love, or more accurately, are overly obsessed with, don't judge me, is an event of such magnitude the global community watches intently. There is a lot of hot takes and opinions floating around within forums as well as YouTube content on how the awakening of Lionel Johnson will affect the wider setting. However, a lot of this is pure speculation as we don't yet have access to the last Arcs of Omen installment, or better yet, a novel dedicated to the return of the Lion, similar to Guilliman's development during the Dark Imperium books. I've racked my brain to come up with a host of lore content which has been mentioned over the years through codexes, White Dwarfs and novels that we'll hopefully gain answers to or get to witness over the coming months, if not days. Before we get into the video, if you'd like to support the channel and enjoy what we do, please do take a moment to check out the link in the description to Gap Games, where the channel receives a percentage of purchases made through that link. They ship to both Australia and New Zealand at a massively reduced rate, even compared to other discount hobby retailers. Once the channel grows a bit more and we can display to businesses that our viewers interact with links such as this, it's my hope that we can offer discounts to hobby stores not only within Australia and New Zealand, but in countries such as the UK, US, Canada, the Philippines and within Europe. The list goes on. I want to be able to provide value and perks to people who are loyal to the channel. That's my goal. Besides that guys, a like, share, comment and subscribe does wonders to encourage the almighty YouTube algorithm to share our content with both our current viewers and new ones too. So if you'd be so kind, I appreciate it. Thank you. Don't hesitate to check out our link to our newly founded Discord channel in the description. It is free of course, and a place I intend to be a positive influence for both hobbyists and lovers of 40k lore. Let's get into the video. The greatest news for a beleaguered Imperium since the return of Guilliman himself has been announced, and that is the return of the Lord of the First Legion himself, Lionel Johnson, only the second loyal Primarch to make his way into the 40k setting. In an era when Primarchs led armies of their own gene-forged sons, the Lion was famed for his grand strategic approach within the Great Crusade, as well as his willingness to persecute these campaigns with extreme prejudice. When the Horus Heresy culminated within the Siege of Terra, the Lion was not able to join his brothers Dawn, Sanguinius and Jagatai on Terra. In the current setting, bordering on the 42nd millennium, wherein half mankind's realm has been swallowed up by the dark influence of thirsting gods, I don't think we'll see Lionel Johnson allowing himself to be sidelined this time. There are so many open plots, some new and some harking back to even my childhood, wherein the presence of the Lion will drastically influence them. Okay, let's explore the various storylines which will likely converge on the return of Lionel Johnson and see if we can pin some before they're announced. I would love to hear your thoughts, not only on the video, but also the return of the Lion. I read and reply to all your comments, and interacting with you guys is by far my favourite part of doing this, so don't hesitate to drop us a line in the comment section. Our first consideration, heading into the end of the 9th edition plot, will Guilliman and the Lion even be able to locate each other? So we do need to bear in mind that the rock is of course mobile and featured in Vashtor's Arcs of Omen book, which means it's likely not moored up anywhere close to Terra or Guilliman, given that Guilliman has many priorities, from overseeing the defense of the last bastion of humanity, the Imperium Sanctus, to reconquering the Imperium Nihilus. His whereabouts could also be sectors away from his awakened brother, though likely within the Imperium Sanctus, rather than being awarded an immediate family reunion, which details the conversations of these two relics from a bygone era, something we would all love to read. We may instead bear witness to a journey to reunification wherein both Guilliman and the Lion must make their way towards each other, with minions of the Dark Pantheon attempting to impede these two from joining forces. Have you also considered Lionel Johnson may be so vengeful upon his awakening that he puts off seeking out his brother altogether, at least for a while, informing those under his command to keep his return a secret so that he can take the fight to the foe without their being aware a second living Primarch is at large? Although this would indeed be somewhat anticlimactic, it would be in line with the Lion's stoic, secretive nature, in my opinion anyway. What about Lionel Johnson's relationship with Chapter Master Azrael and the modus operandi of the Dark Angels chapter within the 41st millennium. There is zero doubt that Azrael is superior to most Astartes chapter masters in both his ability to unite forces under his banner, as well as possessing an astute nature, picking up on subtleties that others miss. These characteristics set the scene for a remarkable first contact as well as relationship between Azrael himself and his Primarch. How will the Lion react to the fact that the Dark Angels and their subsequent founding chapters, referred to as the Unforgiven, basically still operate as the Legion of old, under Azrael's supreme command? We can see in both father and son that their natures are very similar, and this bodes either very positively or disastrously for the soon-to-be interactions between both men. Azrael's ability to read situations and people, as well as his overall mistrust for anybody outside of the inner circle, could actually translate into a welcome for Lionel Johnson that is not overly warm. Will Azrael and his inner circle all believe the return of their Gene Father is a positive event in the chapter's history? Or will the Lion's notoriously dour demeanour, as well as want to control grand operations personally, put Azrael and his companions offside? Spoiler alert for the upcoming Cypher novel in this next point. The most notorious Fallen of all, and arguably one of the most interesting characters within the setting, Cypher has something which belongs to the Lion. For ages now, we've known that Cypher carries what is called the Lion Sword on his back, his Gene Father's own personal blade, prior to his entombment beneath the rock. Apparently, in a new Cypher novel which only some people have access to, prior to its release this July, it is confirmed that Cypher attempts to use the blade to kill the Emperor, seemingly on a mission by the Big E to do so. This is until the Emperor communicates to Cypher through one of his custodies to wait. That in itself is a huge update regarding 40k lore, as for years we have speculated that by killing the Emperor on the Golden Throne, this may actually have a positive effect for the Emperor overall, whether it is through his rebirth or reincarnation, or even a released coalescence of energy into the warp, instilling him as a deity of humanity to rival the Dark Pantheon. We just can't say yet. What we do know, however, is that within a very similar real-time period in early 2023, this lore update has been released at the same time as the Lion's return to the setting. Given this coincidence, I believe it is very likely that Lionel Johnson and Cypher will have some kind of interaction within the setting, hopefully soon. Besides what Azrael and his inner circle think of Cypher, will the Lion know of Cypher's attempted murder of his father, and will he condone this? Or in a more likely scenario, will the Lion disregard Cypher's explanations of working with the Emperor and attempt to hunt him down like any other fallen heretic, claiming his sword in the process? Time will tell. Once upon a time, when Guilliman first reached Terra after his famed reawakening, he was treated to an audience with the Emperor himself. This conversation left Rabute shook and doubtful of his own purpose, as well as the grand intentions of the Emperor. Should the Lion also make such a pilgrimage to converse with his father, will he be given a new purpose by the Emperor? A purpose that, if this did come about, the Lion would likely not share with any other, even his brother Rabute. Of all the interesting interactions the Lion could potentially share with other characters upon his return, this has got to be one that could have the most impact on the overarching narrative of our beloved setting. It is no secret that Luther has amassed a colossal following of Fallen now that he has been released from his imprisonment in the dungeons within the rock. We see how much older the Lion looks after all this time. I wonder if Luther will be similarly aged, but that's beside the point. Only the chapter master of the Dark Angels themselves is ever privy to the fact that Luther exists and resides within the rock. Now that this ancient betrayer has escaped, this is a burden Azrael alone must bear, lest he betray his own chapter's terms of secrecy in informing his brethren of this fact. Let's be honest though, appraising your commanders of the wider tactical situation, including the head of the opposition, is the wisest course of action, so it probably won't happen. How will the Lion react when he learns that Luther still lives? And what's more, how will he react when he learns that Luther was incarcerated for so long only to be set free not very long prior to his own awakening. There is no doubt in my mind that we'll get to witness a tumultuous showdown between Luther at the head of a vast fallen host and the Lion's own unforgiven chapters united, perhaps even coming close to mirroring the power and numbers of the Dark Angel's Legion of old. Guilliman has assumed the title of Lord Regent of the Imperium. However, in the Dark Imperium novels, we see him acquiesce the Terran-based management of the Imperium back into the hands of mortals in the form of the High Lords of Terror. The current council notably less corrupt than their predecessors, now that Guilliman has ensured the corrupt body that it was has been expunged of that festering influence. He once again plies the stars within the Imperium Sanctus, and even Nihilus. Though now his brother has returned, could they halve the galaxy between them? We know Dante has been named Lord Regent of the Imperium Nihilus by Guilliman himself, at the successful conclusion of the defense of Baal by the Blood Angels and their successors. Where does this leave the Lion? Perhaps the most contentious topic regarding the reintroduction of Lionel Johnson to the realm of 40k is whether he and his brother Rabute will even see eye to eye. In the Unremembered Empire Horus Heresy novel, the Lion was expelled by Sanguinius and Rabute for not pulling the line and holding secrets from them. He would constantly vanish to pursue his own ends, rather than work in with his two brothers during a time where unity and trust mattered above all else. Classic Lion. My biggest hope for the return of Lionel Johnson is that we do receive a detailed conversation and reunion of these two Primarch siblings. Guilliman explaining to the Lion of what he has experienced and enacted since his return would be amazing to read, as would the Lion's thoughts on his brother, once again, building an empire. One event in very recent lore released by Games Workshop which threatens to undo both Guilliman and the Lion's standing of authority within the Imperium is the discovery of a book which details the history of the Imperium Secundus. For those who are not aware, Rabute, Sanguinius and the Lion, when cut off from Terra by warp storms during the Horus Heresy, believed Terra likely taken by the traitor forces and the Emperor slain, as a means of ensuring a human empire remained which could unite forces in opposition to the 9 traitor legions. Rabute Guilliman's empire of the 500 worlds was named Imperium Secundus and governed by these 3 brothers. By way of ensuring he did not rule his own empire, thereby removing doubt of his motivation, Rabute would appoint Sanguinius as de facto emperor with the title of regent, himself warden, and the Lion protector. The trio would later piece together that the Emperor did still live, a fact we mention in part 4 of our Primarch rating series, linked below, and so they would dissolve Imperium Secundus and make all speed to Terra's defense. The fact that they did, however, attempt to found an empire on the bones of their fathers could be perceived and even twisted in many ways to both supporters of the Primarch's return, as well as their political enemies within the Imperium. Should this information come to light, both Rabute and the Lion may well find themselves in the midst of a civil war. A massive point that I think we all want to see addressed is how the Lion reacts to how backward and religious the Imperium has become during his absence. We know Rabute does not approve of the Ecclesiarch's existence, nor their zealous claims of his father's godhood, but he has accepted them for now as a means of keeping the Imperium united in the face of overwhelming threats. That, and as he witnessed in the final book of the Dark Imperium series, the Emperor does indeed seem to hold some divine power within the warp, which can manifest in real space. The Lion, however, has never been one to suffer fools lightly. His take on mortals, and even Astartes worshipping the Emperor as a god, will likely utterly disgust him, perhaps even to the point of violence. We have seen a stressed and under pressure Lion slap the head off one of his gene sons previously, so anything is possible. The final point I'd like to make is more a hope than amusing, and that is I would like to see a book series covering the reintroduction of the Lion, similar to the in-depth experiences we were treated to for Guilliman within the Dark Imperium trilogy. I am aware the final Arcs of Omen book will detail lore regarding this. However, I think we can all agree that to do justice to the Lion's return, we need something with a lot more body. Needless to say, with such novels to be announced, we would definitely be covering it on the channel. Keep your eyes and ears peeled because we have a massive new challenge we're about to embark on with a video detailing this coming out shortly. Sub so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all next time. Take it easy, have a good one.